Before we begin with the reading and explanation, let us know something about poetess Phoebe Cary. She was born in Ohio, United States. She was an American poet and younger sister of Alice Cary. The sisters co-published poems in 1849, then went to publish volumes of their own. Some of her works, Poems of Alice and Phoebe Cary, 1849, Poems and Paradise, 1854, Poems of Faith, Hope and Love, 1867. The last two are exclusively of poetess Phoebe Cary. Before we begin with this poem, let us first get to understand two terms that are connected to this poem. 1. A legend. It is basically a story which is passed on from one generation to another orally, and this poem talks about a story which happened in the Northland, which is presented in the form of ballad. A ballad is a song narrating a story in a short stanzas. Ballads are a part of folk culture. It is a poem of 16 stanzas, each contain 4 lines.
Ballad is a song narrating a story in short stanzas. Ballads are a part of folk culture and popular culture and are passed on orally from one generation to the next. A Legend of the Narthland is a ballad.
Away, away in the Northland, where the hours of the day are few, and the nights are so long in winter that they cannot sleep them through, where they harness the swift reindeer to the sledges wearing snows, and the children look like baskets in their funny furry clothes. They tell them a curious story I don't believe is true, and yet you may learn a lesson if I tell the tale to you. Once when the good Saint Peter lived in the world below and walked about in preaching, just as he did, you know. He came to the door of a cottage and traveling round the earth, where a little woman was making cake and baking them on the hearth, and being faint with fasting, for the day was almost done, he asked her for her store of cake to give him a single one. So she made a very little cake, but as it baking lay, she cooked at it and thought it seemed too large to give away. Therefore she needed another and still a smaller one, but it looked, when she turned it over, a large as the first had done. Then she took a tiny scrap of dough and rolled it flat and baked it thin as a wafer. But she couldn't part with that, for she said, my cakes will seem too small when I eat of them myself, or are too large to give away. So she put them on the shelf. Then good Saint Peter grew angry, for he was hungry and faint, and surely such a woman was enough to provoke a saint. And she said, you are far too selfish to dwell in a human form, to have both food and shelter and fire to keep you warm. Now you shall build as the birds do, and shall get your scanty food by boring and boring all day in the hard dry wood. Then up she went through the chimney, never speaking a word, and out of the top flew a woodpecker, for she was changed to a bird. She had a scarlet cap on her head, and that was left the same, but all the rest of her clothes were burned, black as coal in the flame. And every country schoolboy has seen her in the wood, where she lives in the trees till this very day, pouring and pouring for the food.
Away in the Northland, where the hours of and walked about it reaching just as he did know. He came to the door of a cottage in traveling round the earth, where a little woman was making cakes and baking them on the earth, and being paid with fasting, for the day was almost done. He asked her the stone of cakes to give him a single one. So she made a very little cake, but as it declared, she looked at it and though it seemed too large to give away, therefore she needed another and still a smaller one. But it looked when she turned it over as large as the first had done. Then she took a tiny slab of dough and rolled it flat and baked it tiny as a wafer, but she could not part with that. For she said, my eggs that seem too small when I eat of them myself are yet too large to give away, so she put them on the shelf. Then good Saint Peter grew angry, for he was hungry and faint, and only such a woman was enough to provoke a saint. And he said, you are not necessary to dwell in a human form, to have both food and shelter, and fight to keep you warm. Now you shall live as you must do, and shall get your scanty food by boring and boring and boring all day in the hard dry wood. Then up she went through the chimney, never speaking a word, and out of the top flew a woodpecker, for she was changed to a bird. She had a standard cap on her head, and that was left the same, but all the rest of her was burned black as coal in the flame, and every country schoolboy has seen her in the wood. There she lies in the tree till this very day, boring and boring for food. Away in the Northland, where the hours of the day are few and the nights are so long in winter, then they cannot sleep them through.
This story has happened in the region around the North Pole where the duration of the day is very less, especially in the winter season. The number of hours in the day are very few, whereas the nights are very long. When they go to bed, they take a few hours of sleep, and then when they wake up, still it is night time.
They are necessary trained to the churches when it snows, and children look like bear cubs in their funny furry clothes.
Harness means attached, specially attached an animal with straps to some vehicle like bullock carts, or here a sledge is used. Swift means runs fast. A reindeer is a deer-like animal with big antlers on its head. Children are compared to bear cubs. They look very funny whenever they wear furry clothes. Here the furry means woolen clothes.
Tell them a curious story. I do not believe this true, and you yet may learn a lesson if I tell tale to you.
In this stanza, they means parents, them refer to children. The parents of Northland tell their children a very curious story, but the poet believes that the story is not true.
And the good Saint Peter lived in the world and walked about it preaching just as he did, you know.
This story is about Saint Peter. Saint Peter was the follower of Jesus Christ, and he used to give religious words to people. Here, the word preaches means religious teaching.
Came to the door of a cottage in traveling round the earth, where a little woman making cakes and baking them on the hearth.
When Saint Peter was traveling around the earth, he was preaching. In the Northland, there was a cottage of a woman. Inside the hut, the woman was baking cakes, and he asked one cake out of many cakes that she did not give. She baking the cakes on hearth. Here, hearth means fireplace. He was feeling with diesel and he asked her for cake from her store, but she did not give. He was very hungry.
So she made a very big cake, but as if baking made he looked at it and thought it seemed too large to give away.
The poet explains here the woman was very selfish. She did not give cakes from her store.
Therefore, she needed another and still a smaller one, but it looked when she turned it over as large as the first had one.
Needed is a procedure to make dough out of flour using water. This woman thought the cake was so big to give away, so she started making another one. This time she started making smaller one.
Then she took a thin scrap of dough and rolled it flat and baked it thin as a wafer, but she couldn't part with that.
This was the third attempt of the woman. The first two times she tried baking cakes, she found it for big to give it away. So she took a small piece of dough and she rolled it flat, and in third time also she did not give to Peter.
She said my cakes can seem too small when I eat of them myself. Are that too large to give away? So she put them on the shelf.
The woman reasoned that whenever she herself ate the cakes, she felt that they were very small. But if she had give them someone else, then she felt too big to give away. So she put all the cakes on the shelf. She did not give any cake to Peter.
Then good Saint Peter grew angry, for he was hungry and faint, and surely such a woman was enough to provoke a saint.
Now Saint Peter became angry because he was hungry and he was feeling very weak, and surely this woman was very selfish woman who was not ready to give him even a small cake. So such behavior of this greedy woman was enough anger the saint.
He said, "You are far too selfish to having this human God to have both rich and selfish and fight to keep you God."
Well means stay or live. Saint Peter said, "You are too selfish to stay in human form. God give both food and shelter and fire to keep your body warm.
Shall good as the barbecue and shall get your stand in good by boring all day in the hard dry mud."
Here, the word scanty means small quantity. The word boring means digging.
And up she went through a chimney, never speaking a word, and out of the top flew a woodpecker, for she was changed to a bird.
Because of course, the woman changed into bird as soon as Saint Peter cursed her. She did not get a chance to speak for herself. That very moment, she flew through the chimney. Now she had become a woodpecker.
She had a scarlet cap on her head, and that was left in the same, but all the rest of her clothes were burned black as a coal in the flame.
Scarlet means red color. This selfish woman was wearing a red color cap on her head, but this cap was left as it is when the woman turned into bird. This cap was there on the bird's head also, but the woman remaining clothes had burned and turned black in color just like as coal.
And every country schoolboy has seen her in the wood, where she lives in a trees till this very day, boring for food.
People who live in the rural areas or countryside, even a small children who go to school, see this kind of bird in the wood, that means the forest. They see that she stay there all day, keeps on digging all day to collect food. Whenever any children see this kind of bird, then his elders tell the story.